nobody can predict what happens tomorrow. But this speaks again to the lack of preparedness of our regulators. And I think it is not today they should be contemplating this. There's a whole lot of things that has happened in the recent time that, of course, those who are planning our economy must begin to think beyond the present to look at the unthinkable. If nothing has happened, COVID-19 has taught everybody a huge lesson that it is possible for the world economy to be shut down for 6 months.
This is Souq Business Landscape.
The federal government, through the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has begun steps to secure crude oil supply for Dangote Petroleum Refinery through third-party international traders to sustain domestic refining operations. Officials said the move aims to stabilize feedstock supply to the $20 billion Lekki-based refinery and support local fuel production amid ongoing supply pressures. However, authorities caution that the intervention may not immediately translate into lower petrol prices as Nigerians continue to face elevated fuel costs following recent price increases at the refineries. This is quite interesting. Now, I'd like to ask this question.
Yeah.
They are saying fuel has gone up, fuel price has gone up.
Yeah.
But the feedstock, it's not the feedstock that was just bought now. We've had this feedstock for a while, and we are attributing it to what's going on in Iran. Let's do the connection. How does it connect?
Well, we are in a fully deregulated downstream sector where, of course, the market forces determines supply and demand.
Okay.
And everybody is sitting down to look at the geopolitical environment and see how it affects your operations in the long run. And I think this is the challenge that a lot of people are facing. You remember before this Iranian war started, that people were asking, will Iran shut the canal that will allow access of vessels to come into the Middle East and the rest of Africa? And initially they said no, but today we know that has been blocked as a result of the heavy bombardment that is going on, because we don't know how long that is going to last. We don't know how long that's going to last. And in elementary economics, the law of supply and demand always will apply. When you have excess of supply, of course, and the demand is not equal, so you lose your equilibrium, and then, of course, prices are going to be affected. If you have low demand and then supply is massive, you see prices are also going to be affected. So that's what is playing out. That people are not actually thinking about right now how we're going to import, because the risk is high. So what people are trying to do is to see how to ration what we currently have. And so some people we have to hold what they have right now, because nobody can predict what happens tomorrow. But this speaks again to the lack of preparedness of our regulators. And I think it is not today they should be contemplating this. There's a whole lot of things that has happened in the recent times that, of course, those who are planning our economy must begin to think beyond the present to look at the unthinkable. If nothing has happened, COVID-19 has taught everybody a huge lesson that it is possible for the world economy to be shut down for 6 months and nobody is moving, and then people have to survive. So we must be thinking in that regard, especially with respect to imports, the things that we import from outside to sustain or support our economy, realizing that if there are shocks globally, nobody in a globalized world will be left out. So whether the crisis is a remote part of Asia or Eastern Europe or Western Europe or in the Middle East, definitely it will affect trade. For those who traveled in the last 1 week, it is hell, it's traveling. because passengers are not there because the airspace are quite monitored depending on where you are going. And these are issues that, of course, we have to factor into our conversation. So I don't think it's today that people must be thinking and say, how do we mediate between crude exploration and the supply to local industries that are here. That arrangement should have happened even before the Dangote Refinery was built. And I think that we must have to hasten up to see that where things need to be done, we do them as quickly as possible. We don't wait for things to happen, then reacting to it. We must be very, very proactive in the things that we do. Imagine that this arrangement was already in place. So, which means, of course, Dangote will be getting all the supplies from Nigerian here. And so the crisis in the Middle East will not have affected us. But because we were not proactive in the way we think about some of our problems, then, of course, now we are reacting. And the market shock is already here. So price of petrol has gone up. And this is no thanks to speculative activities. People are hoping that, of course, crises are going to get worse. There's no end in sight. I was listening to some analysts speaking yesterday and said Donald Trump said himself he doesn't know how and when it will end. So if the people who are fighting the war does not have an idea or a strategy on how to end the war or to make peace happen, then, of course, you see that we're all speculating. We're all guessing. And guesswork will take us nowhere. So this is why, of course, our managers must have to do their homework so that we should plan as if there's a World War III tomorrow.
Doctor, last administration gave out licenses to different people. What happened?
Well, the issue is not what happened. The issue is how do we make the environment for investment friendly such that people can put in their money. That is the question for me that needs an answer. If it is profitable, people will put their money.
To drill?
Oh, yes. I remember. Profitable. Oh, yes. I remember when Dangote started this construction and it was getting close, and somebody said, oh, but is it that they don't know what Dangote is seeing that other people are not seeing that is making him to make that kind of investment in a declining sector? That's the way people saw it. And I remember also listening to Dangote himself and said, from the benefit of hindsight, if he knew that it was this troublesome, he would not have ventured into that industry. So it's not about what people are doing in the license. People are also looking at the market and seeing how the sector is playing out vis-a-vis the geopolitical tension globally. So we're seeing that a lot of people are saying, no, we don't want to be part of fossil fuel. We want to go full grain. And if Donald Trump has not come to stabilize that arrangement, probably nobody in Europe will be thinking of buying fuel in the few years to come. So these are the things that, of course, affect that investment. So people may have a resource that they want to invest in an economy, but they also have to think about how profitable that investment will be.
Isn't this a wake-up call now for our modular refineries and all that to be up and running?
We are saying the same thing. Dangote can't get adequate supply of crude from Nigeria. 650,000 barrels per day. That's what that refinery will take. And how many do we currently produce? Between 1.4, 1.6 barrels per day. And then don't forget that the obligations that we have to some joint venture partners and other agreements that, of course, government has entered into before now. So even access to the crude is a major challenge for the modular refineries, who may not have the capacity to import crude from other places.
If NNPC is going to source crude for Dangote outside, how would they reflect in the cost of the refined petrol? Will it be higher or lower? At what cost? And are we going back to subsidy?
No, I don't think subsidy is what government is inferring here. Is the fact that it's still our crude, but it has to be sold within the international competitive space, where, of course, government also prevail on the third party to have prioritize Dangote Refinery in terms of supply. And what this means for me is you already have an agreement of people who have bought up your crude upfront.
To sell it back.
So what? Yes, to sell it back and mediate and say, okay, rather than we take it to you, please, can you help us sell to Dangote?
What cost? And how would they reflect back?
Yeah, of course, it had to be at the international market price because the crude is internationally priced.
So fuel price might not come down?
Not necessarily. But also, again, that's absolutely dependent on the dynamics of the international market. So if the prices of crude is going up, of course, the price of fuel will have to follow. It's only when we see that the price of crude going down that we see the prices of fuel coming down. Now we have a major challenge in our hands. Oil installations have been bombed in Iraq, in Iran, and in Saudi Arabia, which are major suppliers.
Yes.
So that, of course, will mean a lot to gas and oil supply in the weeks to come. And I think that is what, of course, you're seeing that is the market in Nigeria is also responding to.
So how do we get ourselves out of this Bermuda Triangle?
Well, I don't think it's getting ourselves out is not even, is how do we guarantee consistent supply should be the question. I don't think pricing is what it is right now. Because if, of course, Dangote is not able to get crude to process fuel, so which means, of course, the local market will be starved.
Yes.
Many of us will not be able to move from place to place. That's what it means. So how to guarantee that supply is what we should first and foremost be concerned about than what the cost of the pump price of petrol is.